the Western Cape, and we'll be talking with Provincial Coordinator for uMkhonto Sizwe in the Western Cape, and that, of course, is you, Faizel Moosa. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, Julie, and thanks for having me, and salams to your viewers as well.
Alhamdulillah, lovely to have you here. Obviously, with about 20 odd days, 24 odd days away to election day, I have no doubt in my mind that you guys are hectically busy. Is electioneering still happening? Do you have a cutoff date, or is it still ongoing?
Well, we're going to continue until we can't no more. When the IEC puts a stop to it, I think that's a day or two before the election, the 29th of May. So we're full steam ahead, and we're going to go, like I said, until we are prevented by the IEC.
Okay, let's talk about your manifesto, and also the fact that we've heard, obviously, that Jacob Zuma has obviously rejoined the party, or is with the party. How is that all going to play out, knowing that he's still a member of the ANC? Has that changed? Has that scenario changed? And your thoughts on all of these happenings leading up to the elections? I'm kind of wondering, is this going to hurt your party, or do you feel it's going to bolster the party?
Well, I think the Jacob Zuma factor is an important factor for us as MK. Many of us coming from the ANC, I mean, myself having served 40 years, just had unbroken service. And I've realized that the ANC no longer represents the aspirations of the masses of the people. Particularly in the last 8-9 years, the ANC has completely reneged on the mandate that it was given in 1994 when people voted for the ANC. And when they made their cross, we believe that they signed the social contract between the people of South Africa and the ANC. But of course, I mean, elections cannot just be about making a cross every 5 years. I mean, it must mean something to an individual when he goes and make that cross. And unfortunately, the ANC has reneged on that better life for all that it promised, especially for the poor and the marginalized in our country. So we believe that the attack on MK as a party, trying to have it deregistered with the IEC, the fight about this logo, this logo, and of course trying to get Jacob Zuma not to be, to participate, was just I don't know. I mean, it's rather difficult to explain, because I mean we should be living in a so-called democracy, and I mean people must be allowed to choose whoever they want to choose, who to lead them. In terms of the membership, I myself am still a member of the African National Congress. I've not physically resigned, although I've resigned. In my own mind, I've decided that it's not the party that's going to advance the aspirations of poor people. And therefore, many of us still believe that, the ANC is captured. And we need to, at some stage, when in order to take back the ANC, we needed to form this MK party, so that over time we can give people what we've promised them in 1994.
So, Faisal, wouldn't that be some sort of a conflict of interest, not resigning from the ANC, still holding on to your membership there, and then, joining MK?
Well, I mean, we didn't resign out of the ANC because we wanted to. We resigned. We left the ANC because we just felt that it didn't, like I said, it didn't represent the aspirations of the masses, and therefore we left. Yeah, in a way, the ANC constitution doesn't allow this, and they should feel free, as they've done with Jacob Zuma, to take the necessary disciplinaries if they wish to do that.
I know you can't talk on behalf of Carl Niehaus, but he was a very strong supporter of the MK party. And all of a sudden, we see that he's now joined the EFF. What do you suppose has made him change his mind and change his allegiance as far as your party is concerned?
Now, Carl Nias was never a member of MK party, although he was a supporter of radical economic transformation. And I
Mhm.
suppose he found the EFF to be as radical as he is in his views, and I suppose he felt more at home there than with MK. I mean, he wasn't in MK, like I said, but probably that's why he went to EFF. I really cannot comment on the actual reasons why he went to the EFF.
Let's look at all the very smaller parties that are going to be contesting this election. Do you feel that that is going to be diluting the numbers that all the bigger parties are hoping to capture or hoping to win over? How do you see all of that? And we do know that coalitions are on the cards. Your thoughts on that? And if you need to form a coalition, which party would MK decide to go in with?
Of course, the smaller parties will be picking up, votes that would generally go to the bigger parties. I mean, in the Western Cape, particularly, the issue of Palestine will have a major impact on the DA. I'm very convinced of that. And therefore, smaller parties like the Al Jamaa and the Cape Colored Congress and others will pick up for sure. MK doesn't consider itself a small party. I mean, in the 6 months that we've been around since December 16th, we have shown that we are going to be a player to be reckoned with. It is our mandate and our view that we are pushing for a two-thirds majority, and there's reasons for that. We want to go and change the constitution so that we can, address the structural issues that is impeding our country from moving forward, from the land issue to the economy, etc., etc. On coalitions, well, it seems like that has been the plan of white monopoly capitalists for a long time. They've been trying their best to weaken the ANC, who has been the dominant party for the last 30 years. And we are now at the stage where there are a few parties that is, as we know, where the funding comes from, and therefore we believe it's part of the strategy of white monopoly capital to weaken a dominant party and move towards this coalition. And this coalition obviously is it's a liberal strategy, which has been tried out in Europe and the West. And that's where the coalition issue is a problem for us, but we are there now, and that's the reality. Of course, MK will have to consider coalitions when the time comes, but there's obviously certain parties that we will not do any coalitions with, and particularly when it comes to the Palestinian issue, and those parties that has been complicit and has been pushing the Zionist agenda will certainly not be our coalition partners going forward.
You mentioned funding for the different political parties. Who's funding the MK party?
I can tell you, as the coordinator in the Western Cape, we are funding out of our own pockets. I mean, you don't see, if you go into the Western Cape, you won't see many of our posters because those are all expensive items to have. It's a nice to have, but at the moment, MK is being funded out of commitment by MK members. And of course, there's a small 10 Rand fee for membership that then we are able to at least have some material working on this election. But I can assure you that there has been no big funding. I know there's lots of stories going around that MK received funding from the Russians and whoever. I'm yet to see that money come through and assist us with our campaign.
Okay, so regarding Jacob Zuma, we do know going back to July 2021, the talk was that he had instigated the riots. And I mean, it just brought absolute mayhem as far as the country is concerned. What's your thoughts on that situation? No one's been brought to account for those riots in South Africa. It took the country to the brink of disaster. Certain people are still holding on to that and do hold him responsible for that situation. Your thoughts?
Well, I think if Jacob Zuma was responsible for or as they claim to be, they should charge him. I mean, this thing with Jacob Zuma and having 700 and odd charges over the last 20 years, and they haven't been able to make one charge stick. It makes me wonder whether our system is not broken. You see, and poor people are not going to continue with the way they are. I mean, people are getting tired of being poor and having lived and living in the conditions that they live in, absolute poverty. And unless we do something drastic and something, quickly, we are going to sit with a civil war on our hands. And I think the Durban riots was just a little taste of what's to come if we don't intervene as soon as possible. So having to blame Jacob Zuma for everything that's wrong in this country is actually, it's a joke. I mean, we're still sitting in load shedding. Our rand is trading at 20 rand a dollar. In fact, the unemployment rate is at its highest, and Zuma has been out of office for a good number of years already. And I think we must now stop blaming Zuma for everything that's wrong in this country. I mean, there's a lot of good things that he's done. Um,
Point taken. What we've got to wrap up now. Your manifesto, please, before I let you go.
Well, our manifesto speaks to the poor. I mean, it's not completely finalized because we're only 6 months old, and we continue wherever we go. We continue to engage with communities to find out what is it that they want and how do they see the country changing for the better. Of course, we want to change the constitution, which is there in our constitution. We want to address the poverty. We want to address housing. We want to address crime. We want to address the economy, which still remains in the hands of white monopoly capitalists, and we want to reverse all those our SOEs to come back into the state, because that's where we were able to create enough jobs for people to be active in the economy. And of course, we want to make the business environment access to young people and to entrepreneurs, because that's where we believe this economy is going to be kickstarted, and not by big white monopoly capitalist business. And they've shown that over the last 30 years, they've not really come to the party. I mean, let me just quickly say, I mean, in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, there's 1.25 trillion rand in liquid cash. And we don't see that impacting or coming into our economy to create the necessary industries. In fact, we've been deindustrialized over the past 10 years. And where we should be industrializing, we're sitting with so much natural resources and we're sending it out. I mean, the whole coal issue was a case in point. We're not adding value to the gold. We're not adding value to the diamonds. We're not adding value to any of our natural resources. And I think we should be investing in those kind of industries where we add the value and then export our finished products. And that's part of where MKC's, which is part of our manifesto in order to change the economy around, and so that we can create the necessary jobs to get people going. And of course, housing is also one of our big manifesto promises that we're making.
Okay, I've got to wrap up there, but I just want to add that I spoke earlier on with the CEO of Business Leadership South Africa, and she was very vociferous about her thoughts of the current state in the country, and she indicated cadre deployment and huge scale corruption from the top right to the bottom. in Eskom and all the state-owned entities. And we do know that, those are the core issues that need to be addressed in these upcoming elections. Are you of the same view as well?
Absolutely. I think corruption is one of the biggest setbacks that our country has gone through. It has robbed the poorest of the poor of service delivery. And I think that's one of the major issues that must be addressed firstly. And,
Okay, I'll let you go. Your phone is just gone there, and I have to wrap up in any event. I do hope to talk with you in the future. Good luck with the elections. And we see and hear you, Brian Bongeni and Mr. S's Music. Thank you for your comments on our social media platforms. Faizel, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for being with us. And like I said, all the best.
Wa alaikum salam and shukran for having me.
9:47 News and Views wrapping up. We're going to be talking with Muaz Kasu, President of SAHUK, and we're going to talk readiness for 2024 Hajj, inshallah.